Hey everyone, and welcome back to Delivered, the show where we talk about what makes the 5% of digital products that do succeed actually succeed. My name is Georgios Athanasiadis. Today's guest is Tomislav Car. He co-founded Infinum and a few years in started building Productive on the side. Productive is a SaaS platform built for agencies and service companies to stay profitable and organized. Now, Productive is 150 people strong and over 40,000 users on their platform. 3 years ago, Tom left Infinum to run Productive full-time. In our conversation, we talked about whether AI is a death sentence for SaaS or the biggest opportunity in a decade, how Productive baked AI deep into their own product, and what it actually takes to make the leap from agency to product company. I hope you enjoy this conversation with Tomislav Car. Let's bring him in. What's up, Tomislav? How's it going?
Hi there. Good. It's a nice sunny day here in Zagreb.
Very cool. Have you already been on holiday? Or are you going on holiday? Everybody goes on to the islands,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
No, haven't been. It's like middle of June right now. So July and August is kind of the time when everybody goes on holidays here.
Nice. Well, I think we should go straight into it. Tell us about who is Tomislav Car? What's your journey so far, and what are you doing right now?
Sure thing. So yeah, my name is Tomislav Car. I'm usually when I introduce myself, I say that I'm a tech entrepreneur, which basically means I build software and companies and products. I started my career way back then with Infinum and did that for a long time. And then a couple of years ago, I basically switched and started running a different company, a different type of company called Productive, which is a software as a service product company, basically. And that was kind of like the biggest probably transition in my career to date.
Cool. Yeah, you just get straight to my second question. So how did Productive come about?
Oh, sure.
And
So Productive is a software as a service for basically running companies, mostly like service companies, like agencies that kind of offer their services to other companies. So we handle a lot of the process that kind of happens behind the scenes, like time tracking, planning, reporting, task management, and a lot of new stuff that we've recently launched with our new Productive 5.0 version. Which handles stuff like note-taking and integrated AI agents. So a lot of these different functionalities that kind of keep the business. Usually the way we say it is we help two things. We help companies be profitable and be organized, and hopefully both, right? So kind of keeping the pulse on the projects, what's happening there, so that they don't like derail, which commonly happens with project management in general. And then the other part is just keeping everything organized in one place so people can find it, know what's happening. Those are kind of our main things. And the way it basically happened is when I was still at Infinum, we were developing this product as kind of an in-house thing, and then at some point decided to spin it off as a separate company. So we did that. I basically left Infinum and started, developing this new company, new product, and this new kind of mission. And here we are a couple of years later. We're growing. We're a very successful company. Our team is growing, our revenue is growing, users are growing, and we're kind of in this new mode, new situation that I'm kind of in right now.
Very cool. So did you, because there was a lot of project management tools been around for a long time. What was the thing that got you started, like where you decided to build a product, build this type of tool for yourself? Was that you were not happy with what was out on the market?
Yeah,
or
it's kind of always
you needed
that.
something purpose-built?
It's kind of always that you're not happy with something. But basically all of the products that we used on the market were not built to handle the operational and financial side of running a service agency or a services company. It was all around like just generalized project management. So we're more like what you would call like a vertical SaaS, a vertical type of software that kind of handles this specific vertical, which is pretty big globally. And that's kind of like we weren't happy with it, and then we started building on top of it. And like every SaaS usually has, you have horizontal SaaS solutions, which is like you can use them for different industries, and then you have vertical solutions, which you can use for a particular industry. And all of the horizontal players over time start to go more into verticals to handle more workflows and use cases. And all of the verticals ones, like us, then grow more horizontally and add more functionality. So example would be our recent note taker feature, which is kind of like a horizontal use case. But we started as a vertical product. So it's kind of like it did evolve over time, but the main idea was how can we help agencies and companies like that better handle their finances and basically not lose money on projects. And
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like every agency's dream, right? You start with a side project to kind of scratch your own itch, and then it takes a life of its own, and eventually you need to make decisions like, okay, do we turn this into its own thing, or is it remains a side project? I mean, it's not very often it succeeds, but in your case, it definitely did.
It's very common.
When did you decide to jump over?
I think one thing is it's very common because people that work in agencies, they always solve problems for other people, and then at some point you're kind of like, oh, I want to solve problems for myself, right? And the other portion is that they always want to kind of build their own IP, because usually the IP belongs to the clients. But it is a kind of a different beast. It's kind of like, I don't know what to compare it with. Maybe like if you're like a car mechanic and building your own car, it's kind of not like it's all related to cars, but it's different business model, different skills, different things, related, different risk profiles even, right? Building a product is kind of like you need to invest more in the actual kind of, you might building for years, you might be building it up to get to a kind of market position, get to a product that actually kind of can sell. So much more investment is needed, basically. I think that's kind of the point. Whereas in agencies usually start off, it's 2 or 3 people, they start doing good work for somebody, then they hire somebody, starts growing. That's kind of the typical, I would say, agency story. It's a little bit different there.
Very cool. So now you've been growing the company for a couple of years now. Can you tell a little bit how it looks now? Because from small to big, how's Productive looking?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, from like a headcount, when we started, we were about there was like 5 of us, and we started covering the basic cases and use cases that the first customers have, and then you start kind of getting those customers, and then they basically tell you what's wrong with the product, and then you try to fix it. But you have to kind of nail the basic use case, which for us was profitability on projects. We had that from the get-go. That was working, and then started.
So that was your focus, the USP.
Because back then, no product on the market actually gave you information like that. You could know maybe how many hours you've spent on a project, but you didn't know if you were profitable or not, and you didn't know that information in real time. So you knew it maybe like 2 months after, when the bookkeeping and finalizes its stuff. With us, you knew it straight away, and that was kind of and that's actually the reason we started it, because we were irritated that we couldn't get it from anywhere else. And then we started growing the company. Today we're about 150 people. We have over 40,000 users on the platform, across smaller, larger companies that are using it. Basically, and it's kind of like constantly we're trying to make the product better. And I guess then the topic in the last, I would say, year, 2 years has been integrating AI into the product to just use all the platform features that we do have inside the product and all of the data that we have, and kind of how to make this useful for people with all this new, I call it magical technology that we have now, where we can do things that we just couldn't do before, right? And now we can do it, and we can offer that on the platform itself.
Yeah. So going into the AI impact on the SaaS world, I mean, there's been talks about the SaaS-Pocalypse, and a lot of the big tech stocks took a plunge when Cloud Code came out, and it's like, oh, you don't need Salesforce anymore because you can build your own Salesforce. Like, how are you seeing the AI wave coming into the SaaS world at the moment?
I think there's a couple of things happening at the same time, where it's like not easy to discern what is what in the whole scenario. But what I'm kind of seeing is, are people like going off and building their own productive and stuff like that? Not really. When you had it before, like one of the main kind of switching situations was when somebody built an internal tool by hand, coded it up because they had, I don't know, maybe some developers on the bench or something. So they would code like an internal tool. And then after years, they figured out that it's not maintained. It's not, there's a bug. You have to find the person to fix it. That person has quit, a year before, blah, blah, blah. So people actually don't want to, for the most part, deal with that stuff. Not in all cases. For simple cases and stuff that you can actually prompt out of Claude and Claude Code, and people who are actually builders by nature, I'm sure they're doing it. But for complex systems and platforms, not that much. And people don't want to take on that burden usually, because it's still a cost. It's the cost in time, it's a cost in effort, it's a cost in tokens. It's just still there. You do see it for a lot of like simple use cases. If you don't need like a very complex CRM or something, sure, and you know how to do it and it's fun, do it. And a lot of people are doing that. But like for more complex, bigger companies, we're not seeing the whole, like, let's say, vibe coding aspect of it. Not that much. The other thing there, though, which is I think more prominent, is the whole, let's say, agentic user interface thing. So, like, how did you use business software before? It was like a bunch of buttons and a bunch of input fields, and you clicked around, and that's how you use software. So with the advent of all these new LLMs, the way you're using software today is more and more conversational. Either you're talking to the computer or you're typing into the computer, and it's telling it what to do, and it does it in a way. And I think that's the more interesting part. And stuff there is obviously changing. Like, you have integrated AI products into the products themselves. Example would be our productive assistant, but also other like Figma Make or any other product that has an integrated kind of AI layer. And then you have like MCP and connecting that to different like chat products like Claude or ChatGPT, etc. So this is all just a different way of talking to the data and talking and kind of managing the system or multiple systems. And I think companies that aren't doing something in that respect, they are in for an apocalypse in some way, I guess. So that's one thing that at least I'm seeing, and that's where we're kind of investing heavily inside the company. And we basically in the last year, we've turned around the whole business around integrating all this agentic functionality in the platform.
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's easy to get carried away when you see all these LinkedIn influencers talk about, AI killed Salesforce. But what they forget about is that, to maintain, enterprise clients like Salesforce does, there's a lot of work going in there. And, those enterprise buyers is not just going to start vibe coding their own CRM tools. They invested so much work in managing all those things and getting that perfect. And they have hundreds, if not thousands, of salespeople working with those things. So I think if you're starting out, sure, now thinking about building your own product might make sense, especially like you said, if you enjoy building something. But I think for established, it's going to be a pretty heavy cost to change anything you have invested training and everything into to just build some.
I think the thing is, you have this whole buy versus build dilemma, and it's always been around, right? Now with the new with new technology, the buy, like the math is different, probably the unit economics are different, but they're not free. They're still not free. So there's still a cost associated to that. And the other thing is, tool builders, which is us, and companies like us, we use the same tools, which means that we can also offer more functionality, a better user experience, a better product, if you understand what I'm trying to say. So like, if somebody that wants to build their own tool now can build it faster, sure, but we can also build a better tool. So I think the general expectations on the industry are just gonna go up on both sides. And that's kind of like what we're seeing happening right now.
Making a note to myself to go buy cheap SaaS stocks.
So the other thing that's very interesting, you mentioned about like the comments. is the way that you build this type of software. That was very interesting for me, because I'm more than anything, I kind of consider myself like a product person. I've always, even when I was in the agency world, I always try to solve problems with products, try to build something. So I am that kind of like tool builder type of person. And the interesting thing is, the old, whatever you call them, products, they were very deterministic. You always clicked a button and you knew what was going to happen. The new kind of way, and what we've learned, is like you have non-determinism in basically 2 layers. So the first layer is you just don't know what people are going to type into the thing, right? What are they going to type into that conversation box? So that's the first kind of non-deterministic thing. The other non-deterministic is the LLMs themselves, the models, which for the same input, they don't give you always the same output. So, and then as you are kind of building that, it's a different way of building this type of technology than you would building deterministic software. So as an organization, basically you kind of have to change. Like before, you would write really exact unit tests or functional tests. Right now, we have conversations inside the company like, does the agent feel right? Is the tone of voice good? Kind of, you have less predictability about what you're doing. It's more like vibe based. It's a kind of different world. And I think it's different also for engineers who have been used to building very exact, precise systems, which kind of changes. This is more, we're building vibey software. It's kind of like, how does it feel?
That's interesting. So talk a little bit about that. Has that changed like your core team, or how do you do the product strategy, the roadmap for the coming
Not
3
so much the
months? Or
roadmap.
is
Not
it
so much the roadmap. The execution has changed. The actual, coding, the coding part. I mean, it's changed across all layers. So when we go into building anything, we do plan, but like what we would, I don't know, do 2 months now, we do in 2 weeks or something. So that there's a downwards pressure towards the actual product strategy and product management roles, who have to figure out design, who have to figure out what are we actually trying to build and why. Because the engineering part now can get stuff done much quicker. You can try out more things, you can do more tests, you can do more prototypes. All of this stuff kind of, the throughput has increased. So you kind of have to figure out how to do that. And also in the engineering, there's a lot of changes. Like there's much more code, much more pull requests happening. So how do you kind of handle that? How do you review all this code? Especially, in our scenario where we work with money, we work with, every cent has to be correct. It's not like you can just vibe code and, what happens, and then we'll fix it later. So you have to kind of balance these two, sides of the scale. The layout of the team hasn't actually changed that much, but, there's more situations where somebody who's a non-technical person would now actually code up a prototype, test it out.
That's cool.
I'm trying to push for more autonomy on the actually engineering side, so that they can kind of make more decisions themselves. To like everybody, like all of these roles, the typical kind of trifecta was a engineer, product manager, designer, right? And they were like very split. I think it's moving closer. I don't think it's gonna be one role like some people predict, because I think these people inherently have different kind of sensibilities and different skills, but they are going to get more closer. We're going back to more like a generalized builder type of person, where before we had, we would call it, we went more into specializing,
Yeah, so they're not so deep specialization. It's more like people have a little bit of knowledge of a wider field. Is that?
Yeah, something like that. You remember the old times where you had like a webmaster, so he did like design and development.
Yeah.
I mean,
that was me.
Exactly. So I think a lot of more of this stuff is going to happen. I don't think we're ever going to go back to that, but just more of this stuff is going to happen. So and then in terms of like all this like SaaS-Pocalypse and SaaS stuff. So basically, you have like 2 categories of software, I would say. One is what you call system of record. This is basically what Productive it was. Still is to a large extent. This is where you keep the data, where the data is organized in a certain way, where the business rules are. All this stuff is happening there in the system of record. And then you have agents, and agents are basically AIs that can do stuff. So they're not like just the stupid, not stupid, but like AIs that you just ask stuff and that's it. They actually go out and do the work. They can send emails, they can synthesize, build stuff, build presentations, whatever they need to do. And currently, you have these two different types of software, and then when people kind of at the beginning, everybody was like, yeah, the system of record is going to become irrelevant, everything's going to be agents, but the agents need the data from somewhere. And then the agents themselves don't have, they need to be connected to something. But then also the systems of record, they can be connected by any agent. So what happens there? And I think this is the market dynamic that's basically happening now. And since all of this is very new and very exciting, people, different things happen in the market right now. That's at least what I'm seeing.
Is there any patterns you see for companies that are SaaS companies that are adapting AI? Like, if you would advise someone going through this transition, do you have any advice for someone taking their SaaS product through the AI transition?
Well, I think the main thing is you need to decide, or do you want to do it, or you want to remain a system of record? I think that's the main thing, because basically, if you're going through and building out an AI functionality across your platform, like what we did, it's a whole new investment cycle. And do you want to do it? Do you have the money to do it? Do you need some money to do it? That's the first question. And it's a completely fair answer to say nope, because the problem with agents is they need to be really good, because if they're not good, that people don't want to use them. They get very they have a version of using, you know what I mean? Like, you're talking to you have a feeling that you're talking to a really dumb person, basically, and people hate that, and they don't want to use a bad agent. So it's more around, and maybe it's better to build out an MCP functionality, a CLI, and just have other agents connect to you. Completely fair. There's a huge risk happening there, but I'm just trying to say it's a strategy. And if you go down that road, then it's a new investment cycle. And I think, you need the knowledge for that. Either you need to find people that can do it, or your whole team needs to kind of get on board on this the new way of kind of building it, which is, like I mentioned earlier, non-deterministic software testing. It's all a little bit different. If you do I think people in general like it because it's new and exciting, but not everybody wants to learn new things. So you have to go through some sort of transformation, I would say, as a company, for sure.
And then focusing a little bit on where Productive is when it comes to AI. What are you most excited or proud of in the AI because you rolled out a suite, you just launched Productive 5, right? Can you talk a little bit about version 5? And
sure. Yes, I mean, the version 5 was all around these different agentic functionalities, and the whole concept of getting knowledge and context in the actual product. So we already had a lot of information about sales deals, budgets, finances, your team, what are they working on, where they booked, etc. So we had a lot of information on that, but we were missing also other pieces of information. So, for example, one big thing we were missing is just meetings in general. A lot of stuff gets talked about in meetings. And we built out an AI note taker feature, which basically kind of records meetings, both video and audio, transcribes them, and just offers them up for search so that you can kind of link them to a project. And then, it helps you basically get all of the knowledge around the project.
They sit on the project, so automatically it feeds in.
Yeah, you hook them up to either project or a sales deal, and it kind of provides additional context on top of the emails and the comments and the tasks and all of this stuff. The second big thing was basically agents, which are customizable. So a lot of products today that you see that come out as agents are hard-coded. So they're for a specific use case, somebody built an agent for resource management or something. So our agents are completely customizable and can do basically anything that a person can do in Productive. So if you can properly describe them, what a process is that you do every day or week and you don't really like, it can and should be able to do it based on certain triggers and information. You have to build it out, obviously, but that's kind of it also has a way of helping you around it. And one thing we did learn about this is that the whole concept of agents is very new to people, actually. They kind of like it, but they do need help. It's a completely new kind of category of software and of tooling in general, especially autonomous agents, which is what we've kind of built, And they work, you can use them in Slack, you can use them in other areas. Report building is a big one. People really don't like building reports. And it's very, when you ask people what a report is, you ask 10 people will tell you a different thing. what a report is. And in the old way of building software, it was very, very complicated. So we're rolling out a new thing under the 5.0 umbrella, which is just like completely customized reports. A lot of these different functionalities. But the main thing was basically building out AI that can do anything a person can do in productive, and then building on top of that. This is basically the biggest amount of work.
Very cool. And how are you educating or onboarding customers to this? Because they, do people just get version 5 and now they can go play around with it, or how are you bringing all these features to
in the beginning, we had like a rollout period, and now I think last week we launched it to basically everybody. And some things are easier to onboard. There's basically like I would say a scale to figuring this stuff out. So from the stuff that we've launched, like a note taker, that's the simplest one. It goes to a call and it gives you notes. Like anybody can use that. AI assistants, so that you talk to and tell them to do stuff. They are also pretty natural for people to get. Still, people need to learn how to prompt these things, right? And people that have used other products, know how to do that. But it's still like people go in and type like 5 words, and in their mind expect it to do something. So one thing we did figure out through this whole process is that all the problems you have with agents, you have with people. It's kind of the same thing, right? Yeah. Like if you I always explain to people, like if you hired a new person right now and you told them, I don't know, fix this, right? Without any context, any particular direction, go look at this place, try this thing, blah, 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 you would get, mediocre results. And if you give them just a little bit more help, a little bit more context, they will do wonders for you. And I think this is one thing that people still kind of have to figure out. But in general, the whole concept of talking to a computer, telling it to do stuff is simple for people. We have a skills feature inside the product, which basically is reusable knowledge. So stuff that you either you are doing.
Cool. So it's like a Claude skills.
Yeah, similar to that. Yeah. So it's like either stuff that you're doing, over and over again, or that you just somebody figured out how to do it and just wants to share it with the whole team. You can do it. It's all embedded in the platform. So you just click share and everybody gets it and can use it. That concept is a little bit, sometimes you talk to people and like you tell them feature, they're like, okay, this is cool. But then they're like, how do I use this? And then you have to ask them, like, what's one thing that you do like every day and spend like 20 minutes every time? Yeah, I do this one thing, but it can't do that. Well, are you sure? Have you tried? Have you tried doing it? And then kind of at the end of it is like agents, like autonomous agents, which are like, they work by themselves. They're triggered by, I don't know, every morning at 8 a.m., give me like a whole rundown of this thing, that thing, pull in this, and then do whatever a person did before. In terms of like, our main angle was basically getting the admin work, the boring stuff that people don't like to do.
Yeah.
And this is what we are attacking. One thing we do learn from our customers, they don't want to hand off the creative work that they're doing, decision making, client relationships. This is something that they don't want to hand off to AI, either because they don't think that it can do it, and I don't think that it can do it, or because they just like doing it, like the creative stuff. They want to do it themselves and just hand off a lot of the like admin and the boring work.
And I was going to say, is the agents on organization level? So each company, okay, now they create company agents and they sit here, or does every individual user have the ability to make agents for themselves?
Both.
On what levels do they?
The agents are company agents, but you build them and you share them with who you want. So if it's like you can build just one for yourself and nobody else can use it, you can build one and share it with other people. Each agent has what we call a manager, and that's the person that kind of manages the agents and handles what they can access. So it's very configurable. One thing you have to be very careful with agents is what can they access in terms of data and what can they do in terms of capabilities. And you can configure that. Just give them, here's an agent that just, I don't know, works on a project and prioritizes tasks. And you don't want to give them access to anything else. Just this thing.
Do you have any fun example or any where because like you talked about, it's not deterministic like in the old days. Do you have any agent that's done something peculiar while in testing?
I mean, it's always a like, I don't know, but here, like, there's like 10 people called Luca in the company. So, and usually when people talk to them, they would say, give it to Luca, give it to this person, that person, and it just goes off and does it. Rarely does it ask. Sometimes it does ask, but you're trying to balance out the behavior of the agent. Like, how many questions should it ask and bother the person? And in how many situations should it just make its own decision and notify you about it? And then you have like an opportunity to opt out, basically, out of that. So maybe we'll assign to a person, tell you I have to assign it to Luca. I said, not that Luca, the other Luca, the first Luca, etc. And over time, this is basically what we do. We improve it over time, because then people can, they thumbs up, thumbs down it, and then we kind of figure out, okay, give it, figure out how to do better. So it can sometimes contextually basically decide, this type of task was usually handled by this Luca in the past, so it should be doing it also. But yeah, that's kind of what it's a very, you might sometimes over optimize for something else, right? You get different behaviors non intentionally, basically. That's what I'm trying to say.
Very cool. So moving to kind of like leadership in general. So looking back, do you have any key moments or key decisions that you point in time where you think it was, let me rephrase. Looking back, what were the key decisions that you think made Productive a success?
Well, I mean, obviously the first one, like I said earlier, just kind of focusing on running one business really well, the best that I can do. I think that was a key decision. I think in terms of everything related to like hiring people, trying to find people that, actually are interested, maybe not so much in like the, I don't know, agencies and stuff like that, but more like in building a quality product, whatever that product is. And I think the way that we kind of build it, we basically talk a lot with our customers, either directly or indirectly. Indirectly meaning through like a feedback loop system. And in the beginning, it was very hard because we didn't have any customers. So you're kind of just building off of your own intuition. And we made some good decisions. And I usually joke that everything that's bad in this company is my fault, right? Because all of the decisions either I made like 10 years ago or 5 years ago or whatever, or, I hired somebody who made those decisions. But I would say, over time, when we started getting customers a little by little and then a lot, we kind of just tried to guide through that process. And the problem is you can't listen to one customer because it's a whole platform. So you have to talk to all of them, but then make your own strategy from kind of the aggregated inputs of everybody. And that's the hardest part of the job, I would say. Because you talk to one customer, everybody has their own ideas, and you have to figure out what works the best for the most amount of people. And we built a very good internal system that does that. And I think that was kind of the pivotal moment in the company when we started going off, when we started building the right things and not just things that I personally thought were good or interesting. It's always a problem with founders, how much you rely on your intuition versus, research, feedback, stuff like that. There's a famous like faster horses quote, right?
Yeah.
And it's true and not true at the same time. So it's a kind of spectrum thing.
I mean, it feels like, in my experience, like it's a sliding scale. In the beginning, it's all intuition, right? Because you're taking a bet on the future, and then the more you learn, you adapt to what you learn.
Yeah, exactly.
Was there I was curious about your growth. Was there any point because you mentioned you went from 0 customers, a few customers, to a lot of customers. Was there any particular thing that changed where you saw
the feedback
like
process,
how you went to market?
The feedback process, basically, because we were wasting resources at some point just building stuff that wasn't the most important thing. So just the way that we decide on what's the most important thing to do right now, because we're a bootstrap company. We have limited resources. I mean, every company has limited resources. A bootstrap company just has less of those. And as a bootstrap company, you have to be very, very focused on what you're doing right now and focus on that stuff and figuring out what to focus. When we kind of built this system for that, that's kind of when I felt that we have a flywheel going. And so that's one of the things that was really good.
And continuing on that, because there's a lot of agency owners or agency people listening to this. For agency leaders that dabble with the side product and they're thinking about maybe turning into a real thing, do you have any advice on how to maximize your chances of
Yeah,
success?
sure. So the usual problem that happens in those scenarios, and I've seen a lot of them, and there's not a lot of successful examples for a couple of reasons. But so the problem is what happens? You have an agency and it builds a product inside, and it kind of starting to get, but what do you do at that point? You can carve it out. So I think that the only way it can be successful long term is if you carve it out. It's hard to be both things. Like I said, a car mechanic and a car factory.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have to carve it out, and then somebody has to leave, or somebody has to sell their parts. Something has to happen there, and it's very hard for people because now you have a business that's hopefully going well, an agency that's going well, and now you have to leave that or sell that to go into an unknown startup that might or might not work. The other thing is, some people, they might shut down their the agency business and just transform the company into this new business. Same problem. It's a big risk, and the bigger and the more successful the agency is, it's actually it's harder to actually do it because there's more at stake. If you're small shop with 3 clients, then it's easy. But if you have substantial revenue and clients and employees, and now it's a big bet, and not a lot of people want to do it. So, but the only way to make it successful is to do a carve out, in my opinion. It's hard to run it as a standalone business because you have constantly competing resources, basically. People, clients are pulling. So a lot of these products in agencies happen because the agency has people on the bench. Nobody, maybe for a month or two, and they're like, okay, we're paying these people anyway. I had this great idea. Let's go and build it. But then you get work and you get revenue, and what happens? Revenue always pulls in people. So then you have competing stuff. So yeah, it's hard. And for all those reasons, there's not a lot of success stories here.
So on you as a leader, how would you describe yourself as a leader? What's your leadership style?
My leadership style. Yeah, well, one thing, I love talking about myself. Yeah. So no, I mean, leadership style. Well, I think I try to be very direct with people. Try to be very honest upfront, which is usually very good. Sometimes it can come off as maybe rude or something. Not rude, but you know what I'm trying to say. When you direct with people, you're direct when they're good and when stuff is not good, right? So it does, but at the end of the day, what I've learned over the years is that it's better to be direct with people than not, and it's easier to run a business like that. It's easier to do it. I think I'm also a very product-oriented person. So my whole bet is that if we build the product that's good, that's the best at what it does in the market, that other stuff, sets up around it, basically. We're not the type of product that you can, have a great sales team and a bad product and it's going to turn out well. People are going to churn. So the whole idea is kind of focus on the product and the quality. And that's basically what I try to do a lot of my time. Obviously, everything else has to be there. Go to market, sales, customer success, customer support is very important to us, all of that. But at the end of the day, no great customer support team is going to explain to the customer if it's not a good product. So I try to focus on that, and it's good because it is kind of a little bit of my my intuition always gears toward that, and I can talk about that all day, as I'm sure you've noticed on this call also. Yeah, and I think generally I always try to push people to go to the next step, go to the next mile. Let's try to be bigger, better. Not stand still, because it's not good for business. I don't like it. It's boring, etc.
In your executive teams, do you see because you're the CEO, but you have a team that you co-founded this with. Is there any magic formula there on types of people you need around you to build a successful SaaS product?
I think you need people that are complementary from a personality perspective, but are also challenging themselves in a way. I remember I read this somewhere, if your cooperation is not intense enough to actually breed progress, but it needs to be intense enough to breed progress, but not too intense that you want to kill yourself basically every day. So
Yeah.
kind of hitting that balance basically. And I think the second part is just people with integrity that you can trust, because I don't want to deal with thinking about is this person saying this to me for some ulterior motive? Is this actually what they think? Is this what's actually happened in some scenario? Stuff like that. So I think those are kind of the main things, like from a personality perspective. And then from a knowledge perspective, yeah, you need people to just complement themselves. If you're like really good at sales, you need another co-founder that's really good at technical. If you're really, because nobody's good at everything. So just trying to plug in all of those things and plug them in as fast as you can, because usually all of these problems just you're just deferring. Like if you don't have a person that's good at hiring and kind of keeping the culture and everything, you're just going to have a problem that's down the line. You may not have it today, but you will have it later. Same with everything else, finances, operations, whatever. So trying to build that basically.
Very cool. So closing question, since this podcast is called Delivered, we ask everybody the same question. What is the best thing you've delivered in your personal or professional life or personal life to date?
What is the best thing I've delivered? I think professionally I've delivered companies in a sense. I think that's the most thing.
Yeah.
It's marked 20 something years of my life, building these great companies from the ground up, and some even that I kind of helped just along the way as like a investor and something else. And through my career, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of people and tens of millions of money and everything. So I think this is kind of like professionally, what I think I've delivered. Personally, what I think I've delivered, I built a house. I mean, not with my money, but not with my hands, but like with everything. So I don't know if that counts as delivered. It's a project for sure, and it's a fun one.
Yeah, I read somewhere that it's in general, when men are asked what's the most fulfilling thing they've done in their life, is building your own home.
Okay, I can see it.
Still some primal deep thing that sits like that you're building.
Yeah, I think the thing is it's physical. And if you like I said, 20 something years of doing everything digitally, and now there's this like physical thing, and it's here. It's probably going to be here for longer than I'll be alive. So I think it's from a mindset switch. I think that was different for me. And the other thing is it's a space, and spaces are, I think, have an impact on people, like where you spend your time, either office spaces or where you live or where you go to. It's like where people like nice hotels, right? Because you feel good in them, right? You can sleep in any type of hotel, but you feel better at nice places. So all these things combined, I think that's what people do, and that's a very interesting take on building a home.
Thank you, Tom. You have been very generous with all your brain knowledge and knowledge bombs, and this was awesome.
All right, gee.
So where should people go to find more about Tom and Productive? And if you would like to plug anything, what would you plug?
I mean, if Productive sounds like a product for people that they might like, you can check it out at productive.io. And if you want to check out what I'm writing, you can follow me on LinkedIn or Instagram but I think those are the two ones I use, basically.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Tom. Happy summer when you get to the holiday eventually. And see you around.
Thanks for the invitation. Bye-bye.
There you have it, folks. That's a wrap on episode 25 of Delivered. Tom, thanks for coming on once again. Before you go, if you like this episode, please rate it on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It really helps with the visibility of the show. All episodes, transcripts, and show notes you can find at infinum.com/delivered. And if you want to see how we can help your company at Infinum or Your Majesty, please visit our website. Hope to see you in the next one.